actually send up some stuff to you in reference to this case as well. The inspection, this shows you the pictures of the inspection. It's all together. I do have some photographs of Mr. Wilhelm. Understanding there's multiple bites with this, but this is an animal attack case. But I will send them up as well. There's pictures and stuff of Diego on here, which is the complainant's dog. Also, I'm going to submit up Diego's information, which are some photographs in here that are blown up in reference to his wounds to show you the severity of his wounds. That's it.
Thank you. When you're done, you can pass it forward.
Yes, ma'am. And that's why we're here today, is basically we have a potential dangerous order on 2 dogs, Memphis and Ruckus. It would have been 3 orders, but one of the dogs is deceased. The Wilhelms are here to speak on behalf of their dog. I'm going to kind of try to make this brief. This is pretty long. I'll do the best I can. So on March 2nd, 2015, Animal Control received a call for an animal attack in progress with several dogs involved. Officer Lisa Wolf responded at 16:05 hours to 8191 Brandon Road in Millersville. Upon her arrival, she observed Mr. Chris Wilhelm and his tan and black German Shepherd standing on the sidewalk just past the entrance to Old Mill School path. Diego, his dog, was bleeding from both ears and head. As she proceeded to walk in his direction, she observed a blue female pit bull laying in the grass next to the sidewalk, deceased. Officer Wilkes advised that at this time, a woman, a Miss Deanna Noren, approached her stating that she had the owners of the pit bulls on the phone and that she was en route to the area. Officer Wolf then learned that the other 2 dogs involved were taken into the house by a Brittany Whitby, the dog owner's sister. All 3 dogs belonged to Fred and Michele Linderborn of 8193 Brandon Drive. Nala, a female blue pit bull, Memphis, a spayed female blue in color pit bull, and Ruckus, a pit bull mix, altered male brown, blue in color. Several witnesses on the scene trying to separate the dogs are Mike Brenner of 4918 Mountain Road, Pasadena, a Lorraine Kays of 8202 Brandon Drive, Millersville, and a William and Mark Beether of 572 Wheeling Court in Millersville, and Deanna Norman of 8205 Brandon Drive, in which Officer Wolf was told that one of the dogs jumped the fence, learned later that it was Ruckus, and Brittany Whitney, who was watching the dogs, heard the commotion, went out into the yard, allowing the other 2 dogs to follow and get out of the yard, and going over to Mr. Wilhelm and his dog Diego in front of 8191 Brandon Drive and attacked Diego, in which all 3 dogs were involved and several people were bitten and not sure which dogs bit. At this point, Mr. Wilhelm took his dog Diego to Hufford's Vet Hospital for treatment, and then Officer Wolf impounded the Linderborn's dog, including the deceased dog Nala, under public safety investigation and quarantined for the bites. The case then was turned over to my department for review. On March 3rd, 2015, Kim Wilhelm came to give a statement of what happened to her husband and their dog Diego. She advised that she and her husband Chris was walking their dogs Diego, a German Shepherd, and Harley, a yellow lab, on leashes. They turned the corner from Patriot Lane onto Brandon. She advised her husband to cross the street since there were 3 dogs that bark a lot. Then one of the dogs that bark saw them and climbed over the fence and came over to the location and started sniffing Diego. Kim advised that she backed up towards Patriot Lane. A lady came out of the side door to stop the dogs from barking. She then saw one was out. They yelled for her to come to get her dog. She then opened the gate and the 2 other dogs came out to their location and started attacking Diego. The dogs were biting Diego's ears and legs. Kim then screamed for help. They couldn't get the dogs off by pulling them, so they got a window scraper to start hitting the dogs. One of the dogs then broke free, and 2 of the men that came to her aid held one of the dogs down and away. They pulled another dog off. Someone was holding that dog in the front yard. The dogs then were separated. Her husband was bitten and did not know which dog bit him. They took Diego to Hufford's for vet treatment to repair his wounds, and he would need surgery. Also on March 3rd, during this investigation, revealed that several people were bitten during this animal attack. Mr. Chris Wilhelm, the owner of the victim dog Diego, a Mr. William Beether, and Brittany Whitby, sister of Michele Linderborn, owners of the pit bulls. 2 of the dogs, Ruckus and Memphis, was placed on quarantine here at the shelter, and not only the deceased dog was sent over to Noah's Ark for necropsy and prepped for rabies testing due to the 2 of the victim did not know which dog bit them. I then contacted Hufford's Animal Hospital and requested the medical records on Diego and received a report from the vet the same day, revealed that Diego had several places sutured and stapled to repair his wounds. The right ear has 4 areas that are stapled. The caudal side of the left ear is stapled. The left shoulder, elbow, and leg is stapled. Also on March 3rd, Mr. and Mrs. Linderborn came in to discuss the incident. I met with both and advised about the testing on Nala due to the bites and the quarantines of potentially dangerous order to be placed on Ruckus in Memphis due to the severity to the other dog under Public Safety Law County Code 124401. They both understood. I gave them a copy of the order not filled out, but explained the conditions that this was appealable. On March 4th, 2014, I then received a statement via email from Brittany Ann, whom is the sister of Mrs. Linderborn, the owner of the pit bull, was involved. She advised that the dogs were in her care and custody at the time. She explained that it was approximately around 3:30. She let the dogs out to use the bathroom. Just as they went out back, Ruckus came running to the side of the house and jumped the gate. She then went down the steps on the side of the house to retrieve Ruckus and then opened the gate, forgetting about the other 2 dogs, Nyla and Memphis. She was calling for Ruckus, at which time came across Ruckus and the shepherd in a fight. The man in control of the other dog was yelling at her to get the dog repeatedly while his wife was at the end of the cul-de-sac on the sidewalk and was told to call police. Brittany then advised that she was trying to get Ruckus off when a lady with a black SUV drove by and more people from the neighborhood arrived. She then recognized the neighbor, Gary. Multiple people were there, and the guy is still yelling with me when I noticed an older gentleman with an ice scraper was going to hit Ruckus, at which point I decided to try and get him off before the man hit him. At this time, she was not sure which dog bit during this time frame. She was also bitten, by the way. She then advised that she got Memphis away and noticed a man on top of Nala. The fight ended, and the man with the shepherd had been to walk his dog to the end of the fence. Neighbors got Memphis and Ruckus in the house. On March 6, 2015, I received several statements from witnesses and the owner, Michele Linderborn. Also on this day, Animal Control issued 2 potentially dangerous orders on Ruckus and Memphis. On March 7, 2015, the orders were served to the owner, Mrs. Michele Linderborn. On the 7th of March, Animal Control received an appeal from friend Linderborn. I received several statements from Nina Norin in reference to the incident. All of this information is basically in your packet that I put up there. I did a full inspection of the property. All the conditions have been met for both of these dogs. The dogs were then released to their care and custody. And then we're here today. And sitting to my right is the Wellhams that can give more insight than what I just gave. I know it's quite a bit, to their dog, Diego.
Officer Becker, have we received any of the reasons for the appeal from Mr. Linderborn?
No.
Okay. Do you all have anything you would like to add?
Well, it was just it was a super vicious attack. That dog came over the fence and came after us. It wasn't that we did anything to provoke this. I want to be clear. We walked on the leash, we had our 2 dogs, and we were trying to cross the street, not even to their house yet, when those dogs took the fence.
Okay,
So,
which dogs was it?
it was all I can tell you is a gray pit bull. It was one of those days that we had snow and the sun was reflecting. I don't know those 3 dogs. I know they bark or have barked in the past when we walk by, but that's all I know about them. That's why we always cross the street. But the snow was stacked at the very end of the street where we normally cross.
Okay.
So we couldn't cross down there.
So the initial contact was not with the first dog that came out, was not an attack though, was around her?
What I saw, I wasn't right with him. I was probably
Okay.
10 or 12 feet behind him. What I saw was it appeared that the dogs were muzzle to muzzle, like sizing each other up kind of thing. It wasn't until the other 2 dogs came out that I actually saw the full-on attack and that they're ripping at the ears and the legs and trying to pull them off. And I'm screaming because I want somebody to come help, because there's nothing I can do. I have a dog on a leash that putting a 5th dog into this wasn't going to help. You know, it was rather traumatic, shall I say. You know, I mean, to see your dogs being ripped. You know, all I'm seeing is the dog's neck going like this both ways and kind of the eyes bulging out. That's what I saw. And he's holding on to the leash, so he's in the middle of it all.
Yeah, when we turn the corner, like she said, you know, I see one pit bull just going, and I don't know which one it was at the time, to see him climb right up the gate, put his paws
In the
inside the
chain
gated gate and jump over. And when he approached me, they were both kind of like growling, you know how dogs do when they bite. I didn't notice any tails wagging, and they were both kind of like growling at each other. And when I proceeded to yell to get the dogs off, the sister opened up the gate, and when she opened up the gate, the other two came out. And then that was when I saw one at one ear, one at the other ear, and one at his legs. And from there, I just kind of just was holding on to my dog just to prevent him from running away. Plus, he does have seizures. I didn't want him to have a seizure because it probably would have been all over it. And I was just holding on to him. At one point, I did fall on the ground, take my hood up over my head just to protect me, because I didn't know, if they were going to bite me or not. And at one point, I do remember looking up and seeing one pit bull, right there, right beside me. And then the next thing I know, I put my hood back over my head, and then they said it was clear to get up, and that's when I moved away from the scene.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Officer Beckner, what happened to the deceased dog? How did I miss that?
The only thing is that based upon the information that we had and everything, the dog was deceased at the time when the animal control officer got there, okay? There was concerns of whether or not the dog was killed by the individual that was holding the animal. The dog was sent for necropsy. It was sent to Noah's Ark with Dr. Hamilton. Dr. Hamilton basically did a full necropsy from head to toe. The dog, basically she advised that there was a possible heart attack. The dog had a severe enlarged heart. There was no damage to the trachea and everything. The only thing is, even in my report, her necropsy report is actually in your file, and I can pass it forward if you need me to, is that Nala was part of this animal attack. She still had long hair and blood in her mouth during the necropsy. So unfortunately, I can't do an order on a deceased dog.
Mm-hmm.
We basically, at that point, is that the Linderborns were allowed to get the dog back for cremation. We still had to submit the dog for rabies testing because it was obviously deceased, and not knowing, because so many people were bitten, we didn't know exactly who was bitten and by what dog. So unfortunately, we had to send the dog for rabies testing. So Noah's Ark held on to the remains of the dog and stuff until we got the results back.
I was wondering.
It's a tragic. It's a tragic incident. The only thing is that, like I said, we were really concerned, and when I did a full investigation, just to let you guys know, is that every person that was involved in this incident, and the Linderborns weren't home, so every person that was involved in this incident stated that all 3 dogs were involved in this attack, okay, including Mrs. Whitby, who was their sister. So at that point, understanding the circumstances, and we have an animal fight that's happening, Animal Control had no choice, because of the severity of the incident and stuff, is that we had to place the dogs under potential dangers. And knowing that Ruckus is a fence climber, we have to keep him contained.
Okay, he was the one that crossed the fence first?
He climbed the fence and went out.
And then the other 2 went through the open door?
Right. They went through an open gate.
Okay, anyone else with questions? Okay.
Just for the record, real quick, Nala was pregnant. She was due to have puppies in just 10 days.
That's irrelevant. I'm going to object, because I understand the circumstances, but we're not here in reference to.
Well, I'm just saying that she couldn't jump the fence. She was.
Well, no. There was no. There's no question. It was Nala. It was Ruckus. I actually confirmed that it was Ruckus that climbed the fence.
If we can object, then, I'd like. Well, let's start from the beginning, I guess. It was a bad situation, and never would we want this to happen to anyone else, at all. We feel we're responsible pet owners. We do what we can to make sure all the safety measures are in place. Our one dog did get over the fence, and as stated, went over and started sniffing Diego. It was probably a tense situation. you know, we went over, we talked to the Wilhelms to make sure their dog was okay, see how they were doing, let them know we want to take care of their vet bill, and just follow up with them. So, given that, the two dogs, or excuse me, Diego and Ruckus are out there. Tense situation. The other two dogs come out. They don't have the means to be like, they're just sniffing. All they sense is that's a tense situation and they're taking care of their own. I'm not condoning anything that happened. Please don't take it that way. However, trying to give some insight, they got out. They thought Ruckus was in trouble, you know, whatever the case may be. We have complied with everything that Animal Control has stated from day one. And Officer Beckner will, I'm sure, verify that anything that we've had to do, we've complied with. But also, you know, in the pamphlet she gave us, one of the first things states, manage the animal and its environment in a manner that will abate the animal's problem. So we said, instead of building a huge kennel, which is extremely expensive, can we get cables or something, because we have a fence to keep the dogs in the yard? We were told no. Fine. We're not going to be living in the state much longer. I'm in the military. We move around a lot. So I was trying to stop from putting anything permanent in my yard, because I have to try to sell this house and then put out the funds that we're using to move to build this kennel. We've never had any issues with our dogs whatsoever, and if you read the statements, you'll see that. None of our dogs have ever been human aggressive, dog aggressive. It was an isolated incident and a very unfortunate one. And although Nala was involved, I still have a question as why no charges were pressed against the gentleman who killed my dog, because there was no, according to the law, there's, you know, there was no human attack. There was no attack on livestock. There was no life, limb, or eyesight. So what gave him the right to lay on my dog once he had positive?
We had several people that were bit. Is that true?
But yes,
okay,
that
so
is
there was
true,
a
but
human
nobody
attack,
really
right?
knows who bit whom.
But there was a human attack, right?
No.
Okay.
There was a dog attack.
And
However,
humans
and
Humans were injured as a result of this animal attack. Is that accurate?
But no one knew that until
Is that
after
accurate?
the
It's just a simple question.
Sir,
or no?
yes,
Okay,
but according
that's
to the
all.
law,
Just so we're clear.
if you're 1% responsible, that's on you. Yes, whoever came to help, they came to help the situation. Is it unfortunate? Absolutely. But my dogs never went after a human. And the Wilhelms will testify that, because when we spoke to them in their yard, they said these dogs never went after a human during the whole incident. I'm not, like I said, okay, we've complied. We've offered other means, less expensive means, to manage and abate the animal's problem. Jumping the fence, I will put him on a cable. None of our dogs have any aggressive history. So that's why we're appealing this PDO. It was unfortunate. They weren't in our care. They were in our sister-in-law's care while we were on vacation. So we've never had any incidents. So no, you can't say that the dogs went after a human, because they did not, and the Wilhelms will testify against that.
What I will say was, I came home from shopping that Saturday after the attack. That was a Monday when they were attacked. I show up Saturday, and I have two people blocking my driveway, and y'all's heads in my door because of supposedly something was on Facebook about Diego's injuries. Those were your exact words, because of words that were exchanged on
we don't need to get
Facebook.
into any of that.
Yes, I came home, and his wife were my...
Time out. That's not what this is about.
We're not here to discuss Facebook. We care about the facts.
But this is all relevant to the
Can
fact.
I add something, though, and I didn't put this in my statement? About maybe 6 months to a year ago.
No, that's irrelevant. There's a different dog.
Yeah, it's a
Okay,
different dog.
anyway, the fact is, the fact remains that we were attacked, or my dog was attacked. He's missing even part of his ear at this point. Yes, I did absolutely say, standing in my front yard, I never did see your dogs go after a human. Yes, people were bit, but I did absolutely say that. They were purely going after, or it appeared as though they were going after the dog, and people did get bit as an incident to the thing.
Man, I understand your frustration, and I can't apologize enough for the incident. However, and as we explained to you when we showed up that Saturday, we went to Hufford's to try to take care of Diego's bills, even after we left animal control that same day. However, they wouldn't give us your information.
And they were already paid for at that point. I had to pay for it before you could.
Guys,
Right.
guys, hold
Okay,
on, hold on.
that's not germane to the issue.
The reason why the commission's convened today is to hear just the facts of the case, and then to address Mr. Linderborn's reasons why we should modify, dismiss, or uphold potentially dangerous order on his two dogs. We need to keep the discussion focused to
Roger.
those matters at hand, because that is the only reason why we're here.
Roger.
Okay? So, Mr. Linderborn, what specifically are you appealing in the PDOs for each of the dogs, please?
I'd like to appeal the key lock room inside the house. I mean, we have locked rooms.
We have two. Let's start with Memphis.
But they're both the same. Can we just wrap it into one, or do we have to do two? I don't know how it works. I'm just asking.
Let's wrap it into
We're
one.
both the same.
They're both the exact same order.
Very well then.
The key lock room inside the house. We have a 7 and 11-year-old. Just as cases you guys have heard probably 100 times. They sleep with the kids. They're around kids. We have kids in our house. They're not aggressive dogs. We don't want to, put them in an environment they're not used to, or that's not normal for them. The kennel.
They've not been in it since we built it.
We don't leave our dogs outside for more than maybe 15 minutes. Okay? I'm more afraid of somebody stealing my dogs because of the value of them rather than them biting someone. So they're in and out. And if the kennel, I don't want to put them in.
Never unattended. And Officer Beckner said that if we wanted to leave for the day, we had it so that we could put them out there. I wouldn't.
We don't
as
leave
he
our
said,
dogs outside.
Because the FedEx man, the UPS man, they've inquired when Memphis was just a puppy. Oh, nice dog. And, other teenagers would be like, oh, is that a female? Is that a male? We're worried.
We've
They
had
don't know
people
she's
run
fixed.
through a yard before, a dog. So we don't leave them outside.
Unattended.
They go outside, they get some exercise for, a few minutes, and they're back in the house. When they are out, they're on a leash with us, which we take them to the bus stop, to all the kids pet them,
All around in the grass.
all the neighborhood, nobody has an issue with them. So, the enclosure is something that I'd like to, a cable, maybe. We'll put him on a cable, especially for Ruckus, since he wants to jump the fence. And my reasoning for that, like I said, is this isn't our permanent residence. We're getting ready to move in a few months. So and I even emailed Officer Beckner and put out these options. Hey, can we do this instead of this? I've tried to offer things and be in compliance at all times.
Because of the size of it, it had to be cemented into the ground. And the way our backyard is structured, if one of the dogs would have went onto the side, the whole thing would collapse. It's a 10 by 20. And there are 6 poles reinforcing it that are cemented into the ground. That way it does not move or shift because we have a hill. So it is a permanent structure right now, which we would like to remove, and we have to make other modifications to the backyard because we have some erosion from a neighbor's drainage. We can't do that. The landscaper said it would just be an expenditure that we would have to reevaluate later. We'd have to take it up, we'd have to do this, put it back in. It's just very costly to fix the landscaping in order to get the house ready to sell or to rent with this enclosure there.
And also, the muzzle I don't agree with. We walk our dogs all the time, and they've never had any incidents whatsoever.
And they have been trained in proper socialization.
We've ordered training collars. Michele is ordered to have a service dog. They're both going to service for training to be service dogs.
That way they're sound in public.
So, I mean, we have things in place to take care of the issue, and neither one of them ever had a history. It was an unfortunate, isolated incident where they got out, and in my opinion, they thought one of their own was in danger. Again, that's my opinion. But we haven't had any incidences. And it seems, you know, for the license fee, I don't know, for a one-time incident, never happened before, for us to forever have to pay this fee.
On top of having the liability insurance, which we already had. I've always had that. I've had Staffordshire Terriers, I've had Cocker Spaniels, I've had Beagles, and even a little hot dog.